George.
Hello, hello. How are you doing? Are you comfortable?
Well, yes.
I like your jar collection.
It's my glass menagerie.
Your glass menagerie. Blow out the candles, Laura. Oh, you did that, yes.
One of the things that I was thinking coming over here today was how we both came to directing from another discipline. Because you were writing, right? You went to...
No, I went to Pomona College, actually, as an actor and design major. But then I I hated drafting, so I stopped the design, and then it was acting. And then I started acting and directing, and then all of a sudden I was like, but also I directed in college.
Did you always have
high school.
that sense of, like, I look back on it now and I think, like, oh, that sense that I would now articulate as being my director head was always there.
And you felt it was always there?
In some nascent form, yeah, I did. I mean,
maybe this is a dumb question, is why wasn't acting enough? Or was it enough? Or where did that come, you know what I mean? Because you had a very successful acting career.
Well, I would disagree with that. I don't think I did have I mean, I was in arguably one of the most important plays of the 20s, you know, so in that sense, yes, it was a wonderful career, but I think up until that point, and, you know, sort of shortly afterwards, I was not in demand. I remember when we did Angels in America that I had a week vacation and I took it off and I remounted a play called 3 Hotels. And there was something about that experience that kind of solidified it, and I thought, and there was a part of me that just thought, oh, it's not going to get any better than Angels in America in terms of a career, you know, in terms of an actor's career. And even when I would go in and audition for things, it all felt a little disappointing.
Interesting. I think I was born, I came out of the womb a director and go, no, you did that wrong. I mean, you know, that was just a part of my brain. And my cousins tell me that when I would play house with them or something, I would give them lines to say. Yeah. Literally, I would go, no, and I don't have control issues. No, not me. And the thing that was fascinating when I would act in college, I knew the correct way that the scene was supposed to go. I knew the correct rhythm of the scene.
Yes.
So I would use the force of my talent to get the other person to act correctly. Yes. I would manipulate the rhythm of the scene through my acting. And then I went, oh, that's not really being an actor. So that when I started to direct, I felt like it suited certain aspects of my personality in a way, so that I felt like more of me could show up. Yeah. As opposed to when I was acting, I had to keep certain parts of me out of the room so I could do my job. Yeah. So you think that was always there with you?
Looking back on it, I think it was always there. I think for a long time I would apologize and say, like, I'm just an actor who's directing. I'm dabbling. I'm not the real thing, as some sort of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, so that I wasn't really responsible for what was there. I'm just an amateur.
Exactly.
And that took a long time to actually step up and say, to call myself a director. And now I do call myself, when people say you're an actor, that feels very foreign to me now. I don't feel like an actor anymore.
Really?
I feel like a director. Yeah.
So when you act, what happens to the director?
Well, I've only done it a couple times. Yeah. And in both cases, they were extraordinary experiences, but they were specifically chosen because of the director. I wouldn't just sign on with anyone. I know myself well enough to know that would not turn out well. Because, you know, I've told this story before. I think it's the Mike Nichols quote, which is, directing is like having sex. You don't know how other people do it, so you don't know if you're any good at it. Or something like that. Yeah. But it is that thing like where you go, well, what is it like in his room? I mean, I knew what your room was like, or I had a
chaos. Chaos.
No, I learned, you'd be surprised, I learned quite a bit from you. And one of the things that I remember you saying to us during Angels in America, when we were very, very frightened and we were about to start previews, we were all nervous and we didn't know what to do. And you said, "Oh, please, we're letting the peasants into the castle to see what we've been up to." And I thought it was such a great way of reframing the experience.
Yeah, because I always, which I've since become more evolved in my phrasing, but it was just like, it's like we've been waiting. We are not their victim; they are ours.
Yes,
and so we get to play with them. We get to figure out who we are with their presence, as opposed to they're coming in to judge us, which of course they are.
Yes.
Especially in the day of, oh, blog, oh, that was terrible. What was that thing? Why did I watch it? With all that crap going on. But it's a chance to figure it out. The work, a whole level of work begins. What is one of the hardest experiences you've had, and what did you learn from it in directing?
I would say, I mean, I will turn it back on you and say that it was probably having to do with a musical, because they're just, to me, they just are more difficult. And I remember something that you said to me once, again, I may be paraphrasing, so you correct me, is that you said, be careful who you sleep with, because that's what the baby's going to look like.
100%. And
that's true by the musical. So sometimes there have been projects that I've been involved with that, you know, may or may not have come to fruition, and that where you go in and you like the seed of the idea or the germ of it, and you think like, well, I can actually change it and make it more of what it, and you can't.
No.
Can't.
No, it's like you go, my genes are so special, no, it will, whoever you collaborate, that's what it will become.
Yes.
Because that's just what it is.
The first season that I was on Broadway, I had 2 shows. So I had a play called What's Wrong with This Picture, which closed within 2 weeks. And at the other end, you know, 6 months later, we opened Love, Valour, Compassion, which won the Tony Award. Yeah. So within that one season, I had, you know, I understood sort of the boundaries of what it was going to be. Yes. And I felt, though it was painful at the time and exhilarating at the time, I felt like, oh, okay, that's the landscape?
Yeah.
And most are going to exist somewhere in between? Okay.
I got that.
I got that.
Yeah.
I understand it. Yeah. And I felt very, very fortunate to have had those experiences back to back.
Exactly. And the first one, the exact same thing happened to me. My first show that I did off Broadway, Playwrights Horizons, was this show called Paradise. And it got brutal, hateful reviews, just horrible ones. And then 8 months later, the Colored Museum happened. And it was like, ta-da, he has risen. Where has he been all our lives? And I was so glad that it happened in that order.
Yeah.
It was incredibly painful and brutal, and I learned so much from that. And then this other, you know, revelatory, joyful celebration of George happened, and it was sort of like, and once again, oh, okay, got it. Okay, got it. Okay, I got this. I've given a couple of like commencement addresses, and one of the things that I always tell art, I said, don't run through your failure, walk through them. Walk through them, because at one point you made a series of deals that you should not have made. Because you can't, as long as it becomes this big, mysterious, horrible thing that happened to you, it has power. And that I like to try to figure out, okay, when did you say yes when you should have said no? When did you say no when you should have said yes? What did you do to contribute to this scenario so that therefore it doesn't happen ever again that way?
Well, but I think that's true if in fact you agree that it's a failure. There are those moments where you think like, well, this is not a failure
100%.
at all.
Yeah, exactly.
The world may be deeming it a failure at this moment.
Precisely.
But so for me, one of the things that started to happen was I tried to articulate for myself, and I still do when I go into a project, what is it that you hope to achieve, learn, so that at the end of that process I can say, done. Did it, got it, did it, and then then I am in control of did I achieve what I wanted to achieve. Whether you like it or you don't like it, or whether it runs or not, I have no control over.
I think the biggest signal that you can do for actors is go, I think you're smart, I think you're really interesting, and I think what you think and feel is incredibly valuable. Let's go on this journey together. And I think if you can, if you say it, it's bullshit. I think you've got to embody it, and if you embody that, then I think, and also one of the things that I think is really, which is fascinating to me, is if actors, I believe firmly, is if actors think they are working on something important, or if they think they are working on something that matters, they approach the material differently.
Yes.
And they let go of a lot of the vanity which can come from insecurity.
Yes.
I don't know, what do you think?
I think that's true, and I think for me it's always been the ability to when confronted with a problem that you can't solve, to say, I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. I think that if we go home and we sleep on it, there is enough talent and intelligence in this room that we will get it to tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. But I think actors have great bullshit detectors. And to me, where I've seen mutiny in the room is when someone tries to bullshit it.
Yeah.
And pretend like they know something that they don't, that you know they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no shame in saying, I don't know what this is at this moment.
Exactly.
This is mysterious.
Exactly.
We will figure it out.
Exactly. I did this production of Caucasian Chalk Circle, and we sat around the table one day, and the next day the table was gone. And because I started thinking selfishly, I instantly started blocking. And regardless of how much they performed that play, they never did it with any degree of confidence because I took away the table too soon. It was just fascinating. You gotta give people permission to not know. Not just you, but everybody.
You have a few days to sort of suss out the room because actors need different things.
Yeah.
And if you try to just paint it all with a one big wide brush, that's you get. You can get into so much trouble there.
Absolutely, no.
So you have to understand. Oh, this person needs rhythm. This person needs an editor. This person needs nothing.
Exactly.
I need to leave them alone. For a while.
You have to. Depending on how many people in a room, you evolve vocabulary for each one of those people.
Yeah.
You have to. Where did that moment in Assassins come from of the projection onto his T-shirt?
The story is that, the original plan was, and the entire set was designed for Assassins. Robert Brill designed this set where it had all of this white lumber that the roller coaster sort of thing was designed only to take the projection of the Zapruder film at the end. So we get to that moment. I'm so proud of it that we're gonna see it, and it looks like a pink smear. You have there's no clue what it was. And I'm just, like, everything is building to this moment, and I was really I was demoralized, I was angry at myself, and we tried it, and it just wasn't working. And I saw the white T-shirt, and I said to the projection designer, what does it look like if we just project it onto his T-shirt? And so they projected it onto his T-shirt, and it was beautiful and crystal clear. But I just thought, oh, it looks ridiculous. And I was meeting my best friend, who's no longer with us, that day for dinner, and he happened to come into the theater a little bit earlier, and he watched it, and we went to dinner, and I was just inconsolable. I was really upset, and he said, "You don't give up on that. Go back to that. There's something there." And I said, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think there's something there. You can make it better." Because she had, when she projected onto it, it wasn't the exact, it was just so you could see it, but it was he said, ask her to work on it and look at it again. And we went back and had the conversation with her that night after dinner, and she came back the next day, and it was great. But it was, it would have been abandoned had my friend.
Really?
Yeah.
So I mean, going back to Normal Heart, it's like I was that final death scene, and I was sitting there going, and I was like, I don't want to bring in another bed. Yeah. I don't want to bring in another bed. Please, I don't want somebody dying in the damn bed. I just don't want anybody dying in the damn bed. And because I think in my back of my head, it's so interesting you said that you were cautious about it. I went, what if he just stands? And I was going, but that's a dumb idea. I go, but it's not a dumb idea. And I go, yes, it is. And I went there back and forth. My brain wouldn't let me do it because while I was giving myself permission to think the thought that I was thinking. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what happens. There's this tiny little impulse of an idea that might be a really great one. But while it's forming the muscle that it needs to have before you expose it to the world, crap has to happen to fall away so that therefore it can emerge.
Yes.
And I think that's really, I love that when that happens.
Yeah.
Giving yourself permission to obey an impulse. And it's very easy, I think it's very easy to encourage that in actors, but it's also the phenomenon of encouraging that within yourself. What is your favorite thing you love about directing?
I like the opportunity to put together an exciting party. That's what it feels like. It's like I get to plan the most, so I want to work with this person, and this person's going to join us, and then the convergence of all of those people. Like, what are we going to make? To be able to make those choices is still to this day the most thrilling part of it.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
It really is. I loved doing 9 to 5. I loved every single day. I got up every day and enjoyed it, primarily because I learned from being around Dolly Parton, frankly. And I would do that again, knowing how it turned out. I would do it again in a second because it was a happy company. It was a company that wanted to come to work, that wanted to give it their all, that believed in it, that loved one another, we had a f***ing great time. Did the world say it was a success? They didn't. But to me, it was.
So do you still like making theater?
That's a very good question. Do I like making theater? I do like it. I find that the noise around it has changed so radically in the past, 5 to 10 years. I don't like that part.
Yeah.
But ultimately, when I'm in the room with smart people, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I was speaking to some class, and I said, I don't care if it's your mama, it's your daddy, it's your lover, it's whatever. One of the things that you ferociously must protect is your joy in the making of. You've got to protect your joy. And you can't let anything invade that joy. Because if something starts to invade the joy, the next thing which can start to happen is you can become so over-aware of yourself and your choices. And when you do that, bitterness is just waiting around the corner. And you've got to ferociously protect that joy, because that joy is powerful and astonishing, and nobody can fuck with you if you're working from a place of joy and of throwing your party. If you ferociously protect that, nobody can invade that.